Hard work, work. There you go.
Forward.
Hard work, hard work. Hard work, hard work. Hard work, work. There you go.
Forward.
Hard work, hard work. Hard work, hard work. Hard work, work. There you go.
Forward.
Hard work, hard work. Hard work.
Fall in.
Hey, what's good? What's good? What's good? Y'all know what it is. It's your favorite Vets on the Net, First Formation Morning Sports Talk. Plenty to talk about this morning because it was lit this past weekend or this week in sports in general. So much going on leading into what's going to go down for the rest of this month. So it's a whole vibe, of course. What's good, JP? What's going on, Coach? How y'all doing this morning?
Good, good. How are you?
All right this morning.
Yes. So, of course, y'all, if y'all, JP, just for those who it's been a while since you've been on. For those who don't know, you go ahead and state your case, gangster, and let them know who you are and what's good with you.
Coach JP out of Herbert Field. It's my second year coaching, defending CMAC champs. This year, I put us in both NBA and remained in CMAC 2, so should be playing like 60 games this year. Only team to do that. And we're sitting at 22-13 overall. Tied for first in CMAC, second in our NBA conference.
What's good, Rod? What's going on, Jay? How you doing? Glad to have information this morning. So, playing in the CMAC and playing in the NBA, 60 games, putting in that work. And you said, what's your schedule this year currently?
Right now, with all the tournaments we played in and both conference records, we're sitting at like 22-13. Still got the rest of both seasons left and both conference tournaments.
And quote unquote, I know it doesn't really make a difference or to a sit. Where are you currently sitting at in the standings? I mean, the rankings when it comes to the NMBT.
15.
15.
Yeah.
Just on the cusp.
Yeah, and kind of got an issue with that, even though I know, on 2 of these tournaments, we didn't travel well, and we didn't really add anybody. Don't think we should be penalized for that.
So I know from so let's look at it like this, or let's take it a little bit. Coach CC, when you look at it, and let's say, well, I guess so. I don't know. Do you think, in your opinion, Cornelius, do you think a team should be penalized for quote unquote be penalized for not having all their players, and when it comes to rankings and they take an L, do you think it should be a penalty, or should that be taken into consideration as well?
Well, when you comparing to when you compare it to a lot of different teams, I think you got to consider it a little bit, don't you? Like it has to be considered a little bit who you have and who you don't have, and how well the team performs regardless, right? Because it is military basketball, right?
So true, and so I guess what I look at it for me when it just from a general standpoint, whether it's military basketball, when we try to think about national rankings when it comes to NCAA and stuff like that, or even the quote unquote rankings when it comes down to NFL or what case like that, when they do this ranking. I guess when you look at it for if you and please gentlemen correct me if I'm wrong or a little off, if you get the dub and you short, then it's going to be praise, I would think. So if you take an L and you short, then the same energy should be kept for the most part.
Yeah, a loss is a loss for sure, for sure. But to me, there are like weighted wins and weighted losses. Definitely. Like I'm not saying, don't take that loss in consideration, but I'm saying, look at the tournament. How strong was that tournament?
Okay.
What teams were actually there? And was it their full team, or did they take their core? They added players from other teams, stuff like that. The dub is still a dub. if you win the tournament, you win the tournament. That's okay.
Right.
You keep that. But I think everything should be put into consideration if you're going to do rankings, like an actual ranking where you're racking and stacking stuff against certain teams and all this other stuff. Every win, every loss, how the game was played, what kind of win was it, what kind of loss was it, players hurt, players not there. I mean, all that stuff should be in consideration.
Now, you know what's something that I think it really take in consideration or really think about what you just said when these tournaments are going down. Who's in the tournament, or you know, saying like that really, I guess that does make a difference. Like who's playing? If you're playing a bunch of people, a bunch of institutions or installations that really are just getting out there or haven't been that good, or records, whether they're in the whether they're in the MBA or just playing independent or in across any other. If these lower tier teams, quote unquote, not to sit up and say any teams particularly lower tier, if these lower tier teams are in these tournaments, then I guess it does make a difference when you speak on it. But like this team is a cumulative of 8 and 24,
or an intramural team.
Yeah,
this is an intramural tournament, or if this tournament's got 16 to 20 teams, this tournament's got 5 to 7. Are you really going to take this win that's a 5-team tournament over somebody who placed or did pretty decent in this one that was 16 to 20 teams?
And it sounds almost like how the NCAA does theirs now, like with the quad wins, quad 1 through 4. Sometimes I'm a big person. I'm a huge individual on sometimes taking what's in front of you. It's the blueprint that's usually in front of you, utilizing that blueprint, get as close as you can to certain things. And because nothing's going to be, for the most part, going to be a clearly perfect product, because everyone has their objections and everything like that. But it's always a start, something that to where it can, and usually go from there and like start to double down, remove, take away what's not good and what can be perfected, what can be improved on, and continue from there. Everything I think should be an ongoing model of in any sort. So, like you said, currently y'all sit at 15 in the National Military Basketball Tournament, which is just days. I guess you could say a couple of weeks away for the most part. So even in that, you're currently sitting in potentially, from what I know, Coach Mike Richardson said, is that for the most part, the rankings, although it is for entertainment, however, he has been formalizing it to be to have a look of a precursor to, or a look under the hood to see these are the teams potentially that may be invited, give or take, depending upon when the invitations go out and if they accept the invitation, they come in. So kind of like you're in there for the most part. How are there any? I guess any given day could set that. Well, do you have any more? How many more games do you have prior to the tournament at the end of next month?
Before that tournament, well, it'll go like this. We played Saturday. Played one game Saturday. We won. We got 2 games this weekend. We have our last NBA weekend, the weekend after that. So 6 games right there. And then 2 more games after that, and then our CMAC conference tournament, and then our NBA conference tournament.
Okay.
The week before nationals.
Okay. So 6 games, let's say 6 games of nationals. What do you think is I guess when you look at it, because I'm a person, when I look at it, it's like in state, what's my we know my end goal, but what's the bare minimum? What's the minimum that I can be fine with? So what is the minimum, in your opinion, that you could be fine with that could probably get y'all into the tournament, win or loss in 6 games before the nationals?
Well, conference games, we have 8. So out of those 8, realistically, if we're going just on track record, we're winning all, but we'll probably, how the season went, we might split with Fort Eisenhower.
Okay, Fort Eisenhower.
So
okay,
You're looking at 1 loss, maybe 2.
Oh yeah, so
The
that's
rest games.
that definitely should get y'all into it. So, do you feel like you have been? I can say victim because we don't want to say victim and use the wrong term. Do you think you have been y'all's have been subject of unjust system in a sense? Is that what
I
the
I feel like we've been, in a way, I really won't say disrespected, I'll say overlooked.
overlooked?
I'll say overlooked because maybe they're looking at the past 2 tournaments,
Hmm.
because if we just go off of our tournament record's not that good, but, Atlanta Classic, we placed 2nd,
Hmm.
but we lost the first 2 games and then won out and went to the chip. But that record right there was 3-3.
Okay.
Not, 500 is not that good, but we got 2nd, and that was a pretty good tournament. That was a really good tournament, actually. Then our next tournament was MLK here at Mayport. 5 teams. All the teams did not have everybody and players hurt. And I played the same. I only played 2 teams in my 3 games. Played Eglin and Mayport. Played Mayport twice. You know, like, and technically we got 3rd, but who's really doing that in a 5-team tournament? You know. And then we went to DC Classic.
Uh-huh.
We had the toughest pool. We had Fort Liberty and uh, Meyer Henderson Hall. It was us, and then Indian Creek, that nobody's heard of. But again, only went up there with 7 of my guys, and then I added 2 players, but those 2 played for me last year.
Okay.
And, so very familiar. We didn't have a big, and then I was playing, and I shouldn't be playing. you know, so we went 1 and 2. We didn't make it out of the pool. We had two really strong opponents in that pool, and I think that pool was the strongest.
So I mean, so we spoke briefly about traveling well.
Mhm.
Do with the expectation that most likely y'all going to be going to y'all going to come to San Antonio to compete in the nationals.
Mhm.
Where is that? Are you going to be traveling well there, or are you?
Yeah, so that's something I already have like my guys planning for.
Okay,
Um, the DC Classic was a last minute thing. We didn't know if we were getting in or not. We were going to go to a New Orleans tournament, but that got pushed to next year.
okay,
It was an NBA tournament, so that DC one was very last minute, very last minute. And going back to I think we're getting overlooked. Um, we're tied for first in CMAC, and we're second in our NBA conference. We are a top team essentially. When it comes to these conferences, and we're defending CMAC champs. So
so
I don't think we literally just got into the top 16 not too long ago.
uh,
We're sitting in the 20s, and you know, and I'm looking at other teams. I'm like, if history repeats itself, I'm not trying to disrespect any team, but we had Hawaii ranked like 2 last year, 2 or 3, and everybody's like, who are they playing? When we get to nationals, and we see they didn't really perform. I don't know if they just didn't travel well, or and some of these teams, their conference records aren't that good. Some teams like Fort Sam, I know some of theirs are forfeits because they just couldn't go because they were in other tournaments and stuff like that. But
uh-huh.
I love June over there at Mayport, but he's sitting at 6, and we're tied with them. And Eglin, they're sitting at the 3rd, and they're a spot above us. And they have a tournament win, but that was that 5-team tournament. I see those guys every day. They're like my brothers, but I'm being honest. Do I think they should be in the top 16? For sure. That Eglin is a good team. But when it comes to like racking and stacking, because all that stuff matters, like where you sit, essentially, with the seedings and stuff like that, because it, the competition is just too tight to, if you slip here and there, it might be over with.
My question would be, what what do you think could be done to improve upon those things?
I think anytime there's rankings or stuff like that, there should be like a panel and a board, like unbiased group of guys and women or whoever is involved. Maybe even like Trey, you and you as well, like somebody on the outside who doesn't really have a hand in it too, who's actually watching the games, seeing the teams and stuff like that. Somebody who's actually going to sit down and break down the wins and losses, tournament entries. Are they actually playing games? Like, who are they actually playing? I think it needs to be a board, not just like, one person. I get Mike Richardson, who he thinks, and it's all opinionated, and I get all that. But if we're gonna do something like this, where we're saying these are the top 16, and these are the teams that are getting the invite, somebody's got to not fact check, but somebody's got to check each other. We're going off of just one opinion. We're going off of one opinion, and like CMB, it looked like they played all home games this year. When I'm looking at the schedule, I'm looking at the standings, I'm looking at the wins, losses, and all home games.
So I think I definitely in which Coach Richardson has spoken, said before, in which I'm sure he would continue to say that, like he said, the tournament. I mean, his ranking is meant for entertainment and for in which it does. It generates a lot of content. It generates a lot of information. Yeah, because Snow and Tebow and everything. So it generates, and then of course people come on and speak here. So it does what it does, honestly, in a sense. But additionally, he also said on the flip side of that, he has been trying to make it to where it is as close to considering who is going to be in the tournament at the end of the year. So, in which he said, and I think it's been said before, like get a committee or do all that type of stuff, in which he takes in I don't know if he takes in consideration or has. I think he does have a committee. Of course, we see the committee for the National Military Basketball Tournament with him, Coach Little, D Wayne, and all that. So, to an extent, I think he has a committee, in which they probably said, I don't know. What do you think of what has come of this season, the coaches poll that Lou come on TJP?
So Timo had talked to me about it.
Okay.
I don't have Facebook. I told him to make it into a WhatsApp chat room. So what I think about that is it should be. I mean, I love the idea of Coach Paul. I love it. I think it was a great idea.
Okay.
Do I think it should be improved? Yes.
Okay.
Talked to him about it. I said I think it should be 3 coaches from each conference. 3 coaches from each conference, not one, not maybe 2, and adding here 3 coaches from each conference, and those guys that are independent, they should be automatically in there. If you're independent, you're on a conference, you should be in there. And then you should have like a top 25. Everybody's putting theirs in, and then I know they each put their top 15, and then they gotta come to an agreement to it. But I do like it. I think it should be. I think you should have just how they do in college, coaches poll and AP poll and all that. That's another thing, another way to improve this.
Correct.
So you have Mike Richardson's, boom, and then you got the coaches, and maybe y'all make one, first formation poll, too.
So I mean, it like you said, everything is improving, or for the most part. For the most part, it's when the coaches poll came out, when Shaw hit me up and was like, "Hey, this is what they're doing," and he let me know the people that were involved. I was like, "Okay." And so initially, I wasn't sure what to expect or what. But then after we started going through it, and then of course it came back again, I was like, maybe this isn't a bad deal, just as you stated. Of course, there's a poll that comes out, an AP poll that comes out, or a coaches poll that comes out in both basketball and football. And then of course, we know for football, as it gets towards the end of the season, the 8th, 9th game of the 9th week, then the college football tournament poll comes out, which determines who's going to be playing in the CFP.
Mhm.
So in the sense, we do have it where there is something that is stated. I mean, because in state, the coaches poll is only relevant until the CFP comes out. Once the CFP comes out, then it's like, yes, the coaches poll continues to keep the same energy, but the CFP is what's generating who's going to be considered for I quote unquote the playoffs, or in this terms, if we sit up and want to correlate nationals. So of course, when you look at that, it's like but again, like you said, as you stated, the college football poll does have a handful, a good amount of people that are considered to be the their committee, in which, like you said, of everyone that has an interest with the idea to come together to create the interest of, or say, hey, this is what's going to be going on. And then, of course, in the same thing, when you look at it, it does the same thing in college for the most part. They're ranked coaches poll, and then at the end of it, but it's a little different because gameplay considers for the most part to the conference tournaments determines automatic bid, and then after the conference tournaments, then it's the at-larges that are usually done in a sense, which gets a little iffy and chippy at that point. So I mean, but again, there's no true way in which anyone could really sit up and do it, because you have a handful of, like this morning or like yesterday, shout out to the USC Trojans, Juju and the company. But you know what I'm saying, you got to think about it, like they're expected to USC is expected to be a number 1 seed for this upcoming tournament, right? But then you look at, okay, whereas USC, they went up and down the polls this year as LSU was the number 2 seed in their SEC tournament. USC was the number 2 seed in their SEC tournament. They knocked off number 1 Stanford in the SEC in the Pac-12 tournament, but yet Stanford, USC, South Carolina, and Iowa are expected to be the four 1 seeds. And so, does that make sense? Has USC played enough? So again, when you was just talking about the racking and stacking, it's like, does USC's resume say we are number 1 seed, even though we was probably number 4 in the nation or number 5 in the nations? And you know what I'm saying? So it's like, is there exact science, or where you got someone?
I think they add in strength of roster
Correct.
to just how these rankings help as well. But again, you need a committee for that. You need to make sure that people are getting checked on their biases, because I mean, everybody has their biases. Just how extreme are they? That's where the check needs to come in. But I mean, if all this is getting considered in that, then the answer is to have a panel and have a committee. Fresh, different eyes, different people who are bringing, just like how I just said, strength of roster. I just forgot about that point when I was talking about it earlier, and I just had it brought up just because of you bringing up all those other teams. And I'm like, oh, they're probably going off of strength of the roster.
And then I think the other thing that comes into play is like this, in which we're doing right now. What y'all are doing from this installation standpoints is everything is voluntarily done for the most part. Everything is also, of course, all this stuff is like, for me, of course, I would relish in doing something of the fact, I'm very sure Cornelius would as well, doing, because it's a part of something and building something to be bigger. But of course, in-state is all voluntary. And so I think some of that comes into play when people start looking at, like, this is stuff that's going to be time consuming, and you have to be willing to give your time to that, like y'all do to, coaching and playing, spending your money to go to tournaments, get uniforms, and for or supplement for any funds in which you do. And so I think it's really comes into play to where, like, this is some of that. So it was like, maybe it gets to a point, or maybe it takes a certain person in the instance. Not saying that's none of what's going on, but it takes to start to do those steps, to step forward to want to do that. And then, of course, in-state, in my opinion, regardless if you do it or not, there's always going to be some type of ridicule. There's always going to be some, because let's say, for instance, if myself and Cornelius and maybe some other people, or just getting some people on the outside looking in. And next year we was to come up with a poll. I could assure there's going to be ridicule on the poll. There's going to be conversations and saying who was this person, saying Trey ain't even played. What's going on, Claiborne? What's going on, fam?
What up, friend?
It's going to be conversations like, saying I ain't never heard of Trey. He ain't never played military basketball, saying all this type of stuff. So it's always going to be, saying ridicule. There's always going to be someone that's not satisfied with the situation. It's in-state, saying that's just human nature, unfortunately. So saying there's never going to be a product for the most part that can get out there outside of maybe some of the individuals who have been all the names that we like Ali, Ron, Coach, Harris, all of them, that have been sit up and that have been Coach Little, all the people who have been out there who've been a part, Red.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the only way you're probably going to get something where someone might sit up and be like, okay, this is validated. But even then, there's going to be some ridicule, I'm sure, because it's like, is there is this legit? Is it unbiased? So it's forever. So it's like, it's kind of hard, maybe in a sense, because there's going to be allegiance anyway. So to a degree. So some people, I know for me, from a standpoint, for example, I thrive on being unbiased. Like I look to be completely unbiased in anything and making decisions. Even when I'm on here talking about the great San Francisco 49ers, I still have an unbiased in my mindset. But but saying no one believes me. They be like, what you say?
Stop.
So,
I want to just jump in there with a question.
So saying, but it's still, but I can understand and get it. So it's really just as like Coach Shaw said, it's empathy for even in the sense of some of the stuff, like for the coach's supposed empathy, maybe there's a growth in that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Additionally, with Coach Richardson, maybe he decides to, maybe they take it, or maybe he might be like, you know what, this is nerve-wracking. I'm not going to do this anymore. And then if the coaches polls out there, maybe he caveats off that, because in state, let's keep it real. There's no real governing of military sports, or military basketball. Honestly, the NBA went forth and presumably has presented a product is a nonprofit and a private organization, but they presented a product in which which affords an opportunity for Coach Richardson to be able to pull and be like, hey, they have 3 conferences over there. People are playing military basketball there. You have independents are playing basketball. Then you have the CMAX and the other one that are playing here. For the most part, there's something that's doing something for military basketball to where he can go and look. Then you have the tournaments. They have their own tournament. And you have that type of stuff going on, but there's no true governance of the quote unquote the community of the sport. So which makes it a little bit, of course, which opens up so everyone's not playing the same amount of games, everyone's not playing the same type of competition. No different from NCAA Division I football and all that type of stuff. So it's until it's a walk-in, and what I'm saying, but in-state is something's going on, and I guess it has to continue to grow.
Yeah, it definitely does, and I think it's I think there's a lot more eyes on it, and it's like catching wildfire now, because now you have bases that never had teams pop up with teams here and there. So, and with what the NBA is doing, reaching out Air Force level and stuff like that, like it's only going to get bigger.
I'm here on JBSA Lackland, right? And so I work with tech students, or I see tech students. So of course, some of them I assume that have looked like they play ball. I was like, hey, do you play ball? He's like, yeah. I asked, hey, have you heard of military basketball? Installation basketball, above level intramural sports? No, I ain't heard of it. And so I give them the information. I tell them, I was like, so where's your next duty station? And if they be like, oh, I'm going here, I'm like, all right. I was like, well, you get there, make sure you tap in and sip and see if they already have a squad. If they don't, then if that's something you want to do, maybe you can be the person to start that. And they be like, all right, that's what I tell them, where to go look at certain things. Of course, the most, I can say unfortunately, but of course, the Military Basketball Association is about as the only thing in which you can sit up as a sort of hitting them up with saying, go take a look at the National Military Basketball or All Army, all Armed Forces basketball, any of those pages in which are out there to simply get a glimpse of what's going on. So of course they can also take a look. So you know what? I do have a certification in athlete management, so we can talk, Jay. But uh, but yeah, so you know what I'm saying, that's some of the stuff. So when I talk to the individual, see, and just to see how it's out there. No different than like MGLOs, military Greek letter organizations. Everyone tends to, no one really knows or perceives that, oh, these are out there. When they, like, if I have my colors on and I'm in my gear, they might be like, hey, you know what I'm saying? They tend to ask questions. And then when they ask the questions, I'll be like, hey, and I tend to explain. So no different than, of course, that in reference to military basketball. It's like my man was like, a couple of them be here. It's like, yeah, I just hoop. One was like, he played Division II somewhere. And he's like, I'll be playing with these boys out here. So I told him, I think he's on his way to New Mexico or something like that. So he's like, I was like, okay. And so it's, you know what I'm saying? So it's I think it's continuing with a new breed or whatever case like that. Even me with 24 years of in the military, outside of the service, I knew nothing of military basketball. Hence the reason why I never played a word case like that. And I basically put my emphasis towards playing flag football intramural level and traveling and play in in leagues in different cities and stuff like that. Because I didn't know anything of military basketball until I started working for Fort Johnson and Fort Johnson, formerly Fort Polk, and being a part of the NWR. And then when I started researching, or when I had, matter of fact, happened to, so shout out to the a throwback Lake Charles Imperials. But you know, saying when I was at Lake Charles Imperials and had a team, and I was recruiting service members that was at Fort Johnson to play for my semi-pro team. Then that's when I started finding out about military basketball for the most part. So it's just one of those things where you have to take in consideration, like there's a lack in the knowledge for the most part, of course. And then just like I'm very sure some of y'all be finding people you happen to be in the gym was like, hey, you play ball, and now you like you done pull somebody, and now of course it continues almost like a teach one. What to say in the comments. What else, young?
I guess really what I want to know is you said y'all at 15. As your own assessment, where do you think y'all should be roughly? If not 15, then where would you have y'all?
Say that again.
If not, y'all ranked 15 right now.
Mhm.
If not 15, where do you think y'all really land?
To be honest, between 12 and 15, 12 and 16. To be honest, really maybe 13, 14. To be honest, I think we're at where we're supposed to be. Really.
In state, by the time you say, your point is basically you should be getting the invite in state at this point.
Yeah, for sure.
Now I ask this question, and nothing against you Herbert and y'all, but asking for the invitation.
Yeah.
Are y'all going to do something with the invitation? Like, so it's like, is it just something to get into the tournament to say, yet again, here I am in the tournament, and nationals winning 16 teams, but then fizzle out?
No. I think we'll go deep for sure. There's definitely Langley's favorites. Obviously, that is a powerhouse. Liberty's really good. What up, Maul? I mean, it's not the rank. I'm looking at the ranking. It's not like super top heavy. There's talent and skill throughout this, top 16 for sure. Nothing, anybody can get knocked off, but there are favorites. And like I said, I already already had my guys playing that for nationals. So we're traveling good, and we get the 2 free agents. So I already got that, and really it's just putting it together and just getting there. That's it. And I believe. Yeah. So like last year, I had eight guys that first day, and then my main offensive guy last year came the second day, super late in the night, and we played CMB and Liberty. Well, brag last year, but
Hmm.
those those games were close. Those games were back. You saw 'em.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you saw 'em. And that was my first year coaching. And if I would have made just a couple adjustments in those games, it would have went the other way.
And so, of course, with Shaw Wayne, King, now a Phantom Warrior. So, looking at some of it in which they're saying, of course, giving love to Herbert
Yeah,
and stuff
appreciate
like
that.
that. Yeah. So it seems like he's Dre asking when's y'all conference tournament.
Our CMAC is April 6th and 7th, and then our NBA is April 19th.
Okay. So it would put it in time still to get more, like I said, to build on the resume. Um, I completely walk what I was about to say.
Yeah, got
I was,
Clay
I
coming
was
with me.
gonna ask. So I was gonna ask, with a full squad, you think y'all can take on the top? Last poll I saw, Langley was at the top, right? You think y'all
Mhm.
can have? You think y'all can hang with Langley? You think so?
The
With a
way
full squad?
if we stick to our defensive scheme,
Mm.
we stick with our defensive scheme. I think so. And I have all Air Force talent on my team. I got two guards that should be getting an invite to that camp. So
And that brings up another point, right? And because a lot of times what coaches tend to do is come to see we have a amount 16 teams
mhm,
that has organic players, and then of course under the rules, a couple of free agents here and there that are able to potentially be seen and viewed and
mhm,
looked at, and like you just said, and get potential invites to come to camp, or saying, get on the radar to sit up and be seen or heard
yeah,
and checked out as far as be able to compete in all forces. Where of course, again, and say it is if this is voluntarily, but saying it is a feeder almost to seeing some of the biggest and brightest talent and some of the old talent, new talent
mhm,
competition. It's a whole conglomerate or a melting pot of a whole bunch of things to which saying helps push forward military basketball. So with that being said, it provides something a little bit, but of course with only 16 teams, and then
mhm.
bringing in some of the and some of those teams ain't full, or because it's 16, there's a lot of teams in military basketball, so
There is.
16 is a microcosm, so that means it has to be the best and the brightest of saying. And with
Mhm.
that, and these people are on these teams, do you think the invite adding the free agent is still a good look?
If they so a lot of the controversy was, some teams aren't playing with their actual team. Like it's more than the free agent rule allowing and stuff like that. Or the team is bringing their core, and then the rest is, people they're recruiting to get on and all that. And if we're talking about, like you said, 16 is only a microcosm of all the teams. There's 31 NBA teams. That's just NBA.
That's NBA. Uh-huh.
You know, at one point there was a discussion of increasing it to from 16 to 24,
Hmm.
and I thought that was a good idea. I think Lackland has enough gems and enough. I think they could host all those teams if it's done right. Back to the free agency thing, I think it's if they stick with two and keep it and actually
Wow.
if they keep it and stick to it, two is good. Two is good. I think two is fine. It gives teams, another edge. But I think it should get increased. When I heard when I heard about the discussion about moving it to 24, I think that was a good idea because there is for this topic about getting more eyes seen on the talent that's actually out there, just for that purpose, really. But I think the free agent rule is good. I think they should stick with it, just two. Um, just go from there.
He said like a little Section 8 behavior.
Now, is
So,
there a change in mindset? I heard you say that in one tournament you had to both coach and play. Is it a change in mindset when you have to become the player coach versus just coaching?
Yeah, most definitely. Now, I tell my players like I do miss playing, but I'm just a coach,
mhm.
right? And when you're the coach, you're looking at the game differently. When you're on the floor, you can't see the whole game. Then the mindset when I'm going, and right now I'm really doing the player coach thing to make sure my guys get rest and stuff like that. I'm not out there really trying to play big minutes and stuff like that. If it take
Like, what you did
if I'm coming to a game short, less than 10, I'm definitely playing. Get them guys some rest, because we're playing like 2 games a day. Sometimes maybe 3 or 4. But the mindset I have, like when I know I'm not going to go in, is I'm really just trying to play chess, trying to see one, how is this player developing that I've tried to been developed throughout the year and their progress and stuff like that, and then making sure these other guys are staying consistent. Because when we do go to nationals and we do go to conference tournaments, these mistakes that we've been talking about, are you fixing them? And I can show them, hey, you've not been consistent, or you've been showing growth and you've been consistent. And then when I'm, in the game, it's more like trying to get my guys to see the game in a different way. Like really, I'm having an issue with, my guards not seeing the floor.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to show them, hey, look for this or look for these tendencies. Look at the body language of, the defender or your teammate, what's working, what's not working. And I might have to show them that in the game. So that's where that mindset is when I'm going in the game.
Mhm.
Outside of the game, just coaching, it's the development, it's in a sense, the chess against the other team and stuff like that. In game, it's more like, hey, try to look at this. You see what I'm doing here? Or you see you could have did this and stuff like that. Or throw a chair at them for sure. Or a water bottle. Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone knows Dre's tactics.
Yeah.
Uh, so you just basically gave a scouting report on your team, but I mean, who cares? You know what I'm saying? that's a resiliency and adversity. Yeah.
And I also got some guards that it's hard to stay in front of them.
Okay.
You essentially just can't. And that's the other thing. That's why they might not be seeing the floor because they're too quick.
Okay. So it say that what is going on is, of course, currently y'all sitting what presumably can be in the tournament, which is going to be taking place in the next month, and then go on from there, continue on and play in the NBA with the opportunity to potentially get in, be in Philly at the end of the year, and competing in that tournament. The and which is hard for, of course, to be to go forth and be like, you know what, this is where it's going to be hella hard. I just think in state it'd be hella hard. Now there probably could be some things done to help the system, but it's going to be extremely difficult to meet that, especially when you got a few teams here and there, teams popping up, teams dropping out. I'll let you know right now. T was one of them. A couple of 8th grade girls can stay in front of them. So there is some things that's out there. I mean, y'all probably be there. I guess you could say that. That's the easiest thing, but you do have a quarrel with some teams that are seemingly equal, not equal to y'all, but yet they're ranked above y'all. And so have you even at any point hit Mike Richardson and be like, yo, Mike, you know what I'm saying, just asking, or do you just let it lie where it lay because you're there? You know what I'm saying? There's no reason to make a fuss right now.
No, I don't think reaching out is gonna do anything because there's already so much. There's no reason to keep barking at, nothing's gonna happen. At the end of the day, um, all we have to do is just win like we've been doing. You
That
know,
that's a good
I,
one.
I'll have something to say if we're on the same track where we finished top in both conferences and we don't get an invite. I'm definitely gonna have something to say because it makes no sense if we don't get an invite. It makes no sense. If we win CMAC again, if we go to the AC and BC tournament and make noise there, and I think we're finished top 3 up there just by the way the season's been playing out. Moore, us, Eisenhower, I see those as the top 3 in that conference in our conference. CMAC, it's Mayport, us, Eglin. If Herbie is in these conversations in the top teams in both of these conferences, why would it not reflect in national invite? Doesn't make sense to me. I only have an issue if we don't get an invite. Where we sit, being top 10 and that, no. I think between 10 and 15, 16, that's where we should be. But if we don't get an invite, I think something's up there. It wouldn't make sense to me at all.
And there's levels to it, honestly, because like you just said, even he said they're what do you say, y'all at 14, 15? I mean 13, 15. So they had 15, Dre. So even with that being said, because there's levels to it, because there's a top. So Mike Richards puts out a top 25. That's just, I guess, saying to keep with the letter of the law and just in general, or saying what the culture is, like we always see top 25, but it's only his tournament is only 16. So saying, so even there's even teams being left off in the top 25, and then of course, like you said, and we're not even talking about the other ones, like you just stated, there's 31 teams in the NBA alone, and then you got 2 other conferences, and then you have independents, saying that's not even being counted in those numbers for the most part. And then take in consideration the 31 that's in the NBA. All 31 of them are installations, correct?
Right.
Yeah. So saying,
right.
Saying, so that takes away from it as well. So I'm very sure it's like hella hard, saying to look at. Like we know the ones that are deserving. When you take just like when we was talking about the coaches poll the other day, and what you look at before JBSA Fort Sam, and you look at it's like, oh, they got 7 losses, but like you said, those are forfeited losses. Lou and Rob pointed out that we are counting games played. Fort Sam ain't played those games. Now there was 7 losses. Had they had played, then we'd probably be having a different conversation, and they wouldn't be ranked as high or where they was on it, or in any case, because everyone knows. But I mean, technically it is a loss. Saying regardless if played or not, it's a loss for whatever reason. But due to, again, like we say, the culture of military sports, some people can't go. For him, I know he's on 2 different fronts, and they're doing what they can as best they can. So it all comes out. What Snow said, the problem with having more than 16 teams is a lot of teams to be dropping out in that pace of expense. And again, when we look at it, it brings down it on both sides of the spectrum. What's good, Mike? What's good? Good morning, sir. Good morning. I need to come to your office and holler at you. But it's so in any like in that plays the part too, like the commitment aspect of it. So it's like all types of things. There's so many things in which saying are a factor into probably where some of us is at. Everyone has an ideal, I'm sure, of this is the type of situation, this is what we want, until we start getting that, and then it's something that thwarts that. Teams not showing up, teams not coming in, teams sit up and try to put people on a roster that's not on a roster. A game not being played, or a lackluster game being played. So it's so many different factors, I'm sure, that tend to kind of like are also hurting a growing process in some retrospect. Or or again, But the biggest one is funding. Like someone in which, even while I was in WR, now I'm FSS, a different type of FSS though. There's the funding aspect of it was, saying people like if there was funding, I'm sure a lot of this will go away, and then there could probably be some other conversations starting to be made, or in-state is just going to switch to another problem, something that's going to be more problematic, and then there'll be darts thrown at trying to fix that. So it's going to continue to be a evolving product, I'm sure. And I mean, we just have to continue to go from there.
Yeah, that's true.
Losses are losses, whether it's forfeit or games played, from what Mason says. So it's definitely, but
So how would you weight a forfeit win? Team forfeits a loss, and you because there was right.
True that.
Yeah, that's true. But how would you weight a forfeited win?
Whew, that's a good question, Coach. You want to take that route as I think about that, or am I just deflecting so I can sip?
I mean, it's hard with the forfeit, right? But I think you got to just look at you can't weigh it the same as you would weigh a played game. So if you give it like I don't know, I would probably think of a more of a not a 2 point system, but like a point system,
A point system, like
like a forfeit would be like a half a point or something. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
um, just to keep it fair, and just to try to keep it even. I think I would go like a half point for like a or subtract like a half point if you lose off a forfeit or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and
I
that
would
just
probably
like
go
you
a
do
point
hockey, yeah, that's how they do in hockey. In which that might be something which you can sit up and continue wait and go forth, and and see, because it's going to happen. Like, but of course it also happens. Like, why does it happen? In the sense, like, is it because you ain't have players, or is it because, like you said, they put in the case I think it's for Sam, they play in two different arenas or two different leagues or two different entities, and so sometimes they don't have the people here, or sometimes teams just don't travel well or can't travel well and stuff like that. And then of course, then you start taking, in my opinion, you start taking on. It becomes, I know for me, it would become a strategy point. Like I'm looking at, like, especially if I'm not being funded, it's like, and I was like, man, we got to make this drive to up to West Texas. Is like, you know what? We're good in the standings. We can go ahead and not show up. There, we'll take a half point loss. They get a half point win. We're still good. You know what I'm saying? Then the game isn't played to where it's definitive. So it starts to be, in some sense, it'll be so again, like it's chess. It really is.
True. And for us, so I also think that's a level of commitment too. Because there's different avenues you can get to make sure, like, if you don't have really the funding, you can like caveat it somewhere else. Um, like with the traveling part. So I have gym support, pretty much base support too. And when it comes to traveling, I'm pretty good with getting us GOVs and stuff like that. So my guys always know there's always that option of just driving if it's a long trip. So with that, again, just from experience throughout this season, I can't really use that as like we're just not going to go up there because we travel. We're damn near every weekend. If we're not home, we're on the road almost every weekend. And like later on, because we won CMAC last year, CMAC will be here. That's a good point. But yeah, what was I saying?
That y'all traveling.
Oh yeah, they're traveling. We'll have our conference tournament here, and then we got to go to Philly for our NBA conference, and then the next week is nationals. So my guys are already playing for that. Like that should already be something y'all should look at ahead. as a coach or whoever's running the team. You have your schedule already. That's a planning thing. And yeah, it's military basketball and things pop up, but that should already be planned for.
And like you said, y'all are supported, but of course, there's a lot of institutions that aren't, without a doubt. I know Fort Johnson wasn't supported. I know, Fort Carson isn't supported above intramurals. So it's like every organization or installation is built differently.
Yeah.
And you just have those little bits and where they're not getting that same type of love. So again, it's like Division 1A, one AA, to where it's just not there. So which is going to continue to be ongoing. So, but you know what I'm saying? It's something to be worked on to get some type of product in which the time in which I've been engaging with Mike Richardson or Mike Myers in reference to them. So there's, you know what I'm saying, there's been a lot of growing pains. Of course, there was stuff prior to in which you have it, in which, you know what I'm saying, in-state, when I look at it, is two very good products for the most part that can honestly work hand in hand. To be a beneficial aspect into it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying, they have a tournament. It's a tournament, national tournament, in which Mike Richardson has put on that has built, you know what I'm saying, that has its time honored now. You know what I'm saying? Everyone's buying to where people are having conversation in reference to why aren't they in the top 16? Why can't we expand and all that type of stuff? It's different than that in college, because that's a whole organization that is funded by media rights and, you know what I'm saying, other grants and stuff like that, to where they have a large pot to work with, and it's grown. You say I agree, as you said. Comment this military basketball in the course of work will of course come up family issues, etc. But as a program, if you have 5 or more, should play. I took 6 people to play a set of games. Didn't have none of my top core players, and we played and lost. I could have easily forfeited because I didn't have my best guys. It's next man up.
Yeah, I believe that for sure. I don't believe in I don't have my top guys, so we ain't gonna play, or we gonna reschedule. No, I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. You should next man up. It's military basketball. We all know stuff happens, especially like with the bases that are they got a lot of guard guys or reserve guys. Okay, first weekend of the month. Okay, they know that's drill. You got to schedule around that, or don't make your team full of guard guys. I think at the end of the day, it's military basketball. The work comes first, but you should be able to adapt. And the same, like I'll go up, like I said, DC Classic was a last minute thing. We got in, we thought we were going to New Orleans. That got pushed back. We got into DC. I went up there with 7 of my guys. And the 2 that played last year that are at Scott.
And you say y'all finished 1 and 2, didn't make it out of the pool?
Yeah, didn't make it out of the pool. I mean, it is what it is. Didn't have a big. Hey, went against Bragg and Myers. You need a big for those 2 teams. You need paint presence. So, I mean, it is what it is. It's military basketball. You should play. I don't believe in the forfeit stuff. Go with what you got.
So, of course, we have had the conversation in reference to what, you know what I'm saying, the ranking aspect, bring up the rankings, which segue into the ways in which potentially, possibly, maybe it could be better, and then segue into a bunch of stuff. So we had a whole conversation in reference to military basketball, the tournament, you know what I'm saying, and going forth. In-state, JP's trying to see Herbert in the tournament, and then so they can continue on with their blitz. So, Mike, if you're still out there, they're saying send an invite. That's all he trying to get. He wants his invite. You want to make sure, you know what I'm saying, so they can do work. He said it here. It's a time stamped that they're going to do work if they get there. Of course, So additionally, there's been another, of course, JP, if you want to stay on, you can continue on. There has been another topic, of course, it was been that's out there. The big dance is coming up as this week starts off, when it's going to basically be all the conference tournaments. And for those who haven't won yet, Snow says that they need one for sure. You know, saying stamping it, signing on. In which we see up yesterday. you know what? You know what I'm saying? Heavy is the crown. So heavy is the crown. But you know what? Like he said, there's a whole bunch of teams that are saying the same thing. But it's one thing in which JP said earlier. We win. If we win, it shouldn't be a discussion. Like
we're the only team in 2 leagues that are top in their conferences, both conferences.
So you know what I'm saying?
It sounds like a top 16 team.
Those, you know what I'm saying, W's make the difference. Y'all remember Jameis Winston was eating them, so evidently they beat something. So get the dubs out there, and you're saying if you get the W, then you can make it. I see it as make another problem for Coach Richardson. If you sit up and get the W's, everyone's getting W's, then you make another problem, then you make his job harder. And he wants a hard job, I'm sure. He wants to sit up and have a huge amount, you know what I'm saying? If everyone's consistently getting the W's, then it makes it a whole another situation to where the conversation about expanding it probably comes into fruition, because it's like if y'all consistently getting W's and it's top tier teams across the board every year, like you know what I'm saying, it's hard to argue with that. But if we got them here, you got them there. It's the usual suspects. So you see the same teams in nationals all the time. Then we start having to continue to have the conversations about who playing who's this person playing, why are they in the top? You know what I'm saying? It's going to be because
I broke it all down. I broke it all down.
If you go see the JP poll, they say
I broke it all down.
So you got his notes, so you know what I'm saying? It's all there. It's all for y'all. He said he had guaranteed best teams in nationals, so y'all see it here first. He said he would have the best 16 in nationals this year. And then again, it comes down to people will honestly accept the invite because it's nationals, but don't come half cocked. You know what I'm saying? I think that's another situation too. I know I've seen plenty of times where he's put out the last couple of years, he's put out a roster, and then they look up and then even one, you're down to 13 teams out of 16 or something like that. You know what I'm saying? At the last hour. So help y'all to get, you know what I'm saying, put out a product that's going to continue to be worthy of that, you know what I'm saying? So it's all across the board looking at it.
Yeah. I mean, I got one, he's like maybe 5'10", 5'11", catching bodies on 6'9" guys, just athletic out the gym, can't stay in front of him. Another one, he's too crafty. He just gets to his spot every time. He could, if it wasn't the level of this basketball, like he could just be the whole offense in a sense, to where he could just take every shot because he gets to his spot every time. He's one of those kind of guys.
See, there you go. It's all out there. If what Snow said, just put a highlight tape of them out there, all service caliber guards, and boom, invite.
Yeah. So Snow's seen them. Snow's seen them.
So it's definitely. So, like we was just saying, other talents and stuff like that that's out there. Yesterday, a plethora of things going on. Of course, you had the Big Ten in the women's NCAA. You had the Big Ten. I know I saw Mike was commenting. Everyone was commenting on the LSU South Carolina game, basically saying that Cordova has hurt herself and all that type, and things of that nature. So, did y'all gentlemen check out the women's those conference championships yesterday in women's NCAA?
I saw some of it. I was gambling, so I was watching my parlay games.
Okay. Coach, you checked it out?
Yeah, I saw parts of the Iowa game, but I really watched the USC Stanford and I did see the LSU. I did see the LSU game. Disappointed at LSU too. Like I really saw they had no chance of winning that game at all. South Carolina don't really have no name brand players this year either. Like they doing it with just a collective, and they look better than Angel Reese and company. And Morrow and them. They look better than them.
So I mean, of course, you got Cordova that's still there, in which I don't know if she's going to be there. Like I think Mike said she might have hurt them with her little antics of pushing Flogene and assaulting her basically. Which don't say they sleep on SC players, South Carolina players. So I mean, evidently there's so is it really because they 32-0? Like they played some top tier talent, so they not as bad as they thought, or is that just coaching in your opinion?
It's a combination. Like I said, these players they lost five starters. Five starters went to the WNBA last year. That's all they started. So this year they revamped. So yeah, you got to give it to the coaching and you got to give it to the players that's there right now.
Mm-hmm. Of course, yes, Juju and company. Yes, although Juju wasn't the player yesterday, but she, saying she's been a huge part. They played Stanford after she dropped that 51 piece on Stanford, came back and competed against the USC, back to the glory. She shouted out Cheryl, Lisa, Tina, and all of them after they went on for their win. In this case, like I was talking about earlier, do you think USC has earned the right to be a number one seed in the upcoming women's tournament?
Yeah, for sure. Like when y'all said it didn't even look like LSU had a chance. Yeah.
Key places, the great transferring. Yeah, so I mean, coaching. In that case for South Carolina, the coaching. In the case of USC, the players. Of course, South Carolina, and then LSU. I don't know if they're going to be able to enact the same thing, but of course, everyone's eye is on the Midwest. Iowa winning their Big Ten championship yesterday with a showing from Caitlin Clark doing her thing. Just firing 0.3 percent points from being the top, the Division I overall scoring average. Is Iowa going to be a champion this year? In any of y'all's opinion?
No.
No.
They struggled. They played Nebraska yesterday. I saw Nebraska beat them once this season already. Like you struggling against Nebraska. I don't know if you have anything for South Carolina or USC or like those top teams. Like you struggling against Nebraska. I mean, maybe it's the matchups, but
I mean, it's still any given day, correct? But I get what you're saying.
Caitlin Clark has to have too good a game in order for her team to win. Like yesterday, you saw her first half; they were getting blown out because she was like 2 for 13 or whatever in the first half.
13, yeah,
like she had to score 30. She had to score 30 points in the second half for them to win. I don't know if you can keep that up.
And DeAndre Snow just pointed out a point last year. Caitlin was there, so what you're saying is you don't think Caitlin is enough? She's not enough.
But look at the game she had to have last year.
Correct. Okay.
And that wasn't enough.
Yeah. The girls with her not going to hold up. And I mean, that might be a part, but it would be. No, they're not. Stop that. Juju gonna work Caitlin over. But I mean, so like he said, like Fargo said, Caitlin is, saying paid admission at this point, in which everyone you in Iowa, saying you said it is like it's the whole that's everything's the black and yellow is all about Caitlin.
Oh yeah, she's definitely a show, but I agree with that statement that the rest of her team probably not gonna hold up. They played pretty good yesterday.
They held her down yesterday.
They shot good from three yesterday. But how many times are they gonna do that? Like the rest of the team shot like what 50% from three. Like how many times are you really gonna do that realistically to win a game?
What you're saying, it's all fair conversation. And I get what you're saying, Snow. You talking about South Carolina? I thought you were talking about Southern California. So I mean, it's a lot of teams out there. These are just the teams in which we're talking about. Like we talked about earlier, Becker's is back. UConn is still a problem. Let's not remove the fact that over the weekend it took a lucky banked in 3-pointer from the center in South Carolina, Cordova, for Tennessee to even though South Carolina would still be a number 1 seed if they had lost, but they would have just got Tennessee in. Stanford is a problem. Utah might get a bid, so they can be a problem. So there's plenty of other teams out there that are going to be of course, be worthy of the 32 slots. But
don't sleep on Notre Dame either. Hidalgo got them playing some ball. Don't sleep on Notre Dame and fighting Irish either.
Yeah.
So it's all kinds of stuff in state. Going over to the men's, I know I seen a lot of Dookies talk. IADOOKIES when it's talking about Duke and UNC. Who's your front runner for? I know yours. I think Snook is you staying with the home team. But JP, who's your front runner to win the national championship on the men's side?
Either UConn or Houston.
Yep, I got Houston.
Everyone is on Houston. Like, so let's take a perspective look, right?
Houston. But let me throw this in there.
Okay.
Part of me feels like Houston's going to get knocked off early somewhere. Part of me feels like
Houston's in the same spot that they was last year. They were a top seed going in the top, and it was at home. It was like all the table was set, and then no one seen UConn coming.
But they had injuries though. Like I gotta, I gotta defend Houston from that perspective. They had injuries. This year with no injuries, I think they can win it all.
You say Houston with no injuries, what?
They can win it all this year with no injuries. If they stay healthy, they can win.
True. Yeah, man, just the gut feeling. Like last year, I think they're going to get knocked off somewhere. I think Purdue's going to get knocked off early. They're just, to me, they've been so inconsistent.
Edie.
Yeah. Who else?
So,
Tennessee looked good this past weekend, even though that was a good game. I think they'll go far. But Houston, UConn, Tennessee, I think Kentucky might do something.
Yeah, that was my sleeper is Kentucky. I think
same. I think Kentucky might do something.
So I'll celebrate a little bit. This weekend in pugilistic sports, one of the biggest knockouts has happened. Coach Snow says UK is his sleeper as well. One of the biggest knockouts of a long time happened as Anthony Joshua and Manu took it to the mat. So we understand, right? You have boxing, you have MMA, right?
Mm-hmm.
He look on his face where he's like the conversation. You have boxing and you have MMA, which is technically they all come from the same origin. However, one is a little more engaging than the other. Should this have even been a match?
I mean, to me, he looked pretty good against Fury.
He did.
I was pretty impressed. But with fighting, all it takes is one look, one punch, one kick, and then that's why I think we can't really judge something like that off of you know what I'm saying? Off of like one fight, one bout or something like that, unless it was just complete dominance. Because at any given moment, yeah, that's true. But I think to me, he looked good against Fury. That's why I was like, I'm taking him serious.
Mm-hmm.
It's not to me. I don't think it was a really money grab for him, but he looked really good against Fury, and so that's why I was excited about that fight. But that knockout was crazy.
I mean, boxers they always have tune-up fights, right? When you come
Okay.
back, like especially when you like Joshua, right? Like making a comeback, like trying to, get back on top of your game, right? So you have some tune-up fights, so I don't see nothing wrong with the fight. Um, I just hope, moving forward, you know, from that fight, competition got to get stiffer now, right?
Mm,
Like if you fight somebody else and you taking them out in the first or second round and it's not um up to your caliber, then yeah, you're a joke then, right? It's
Mhm.
yeah.
sort of like this Jake Paul Tyson thing, right?
I knew it was coming.
like, like what a joke! like what a joke!
You gonna watch it though?
Yeah, I mean, we
You
are.
gonna watch it?
So y'all think this is starting? Do y'all think the game is starting to get gimmicky when it comes to boxing, or especially heavyweight? Because they're searching for these people to fight to compete against. Do you think it's starting to get gimmicky, or do you think this is just take it on? It's like social media. Well, who's hot right now, and go ahead and put them in to get a payday, and then you continue on from there. Because let's be honest, Ngannou has had 2 fights against Fury and against Joshua. How did he get that way? How did he get there? Where, you know what I'm saying? What bones did he make to be in that position? So now, of course, we're seeing a different type of culture in the aspect, you know what I'm saying? No different from like we was just talking about the NBA, the Nationals, to where presumably a team that's hot, even though Coach Richardson has tried to do his thing where he says you don't get an automatic bid for winning the tournament because you can be a top team. You get for the work that you did in the conference is where you get your automatic bids from. So in retrospect to that, it comes up like was Ngannou deserving of this, or is it just because there's really nothing going on for in the heavyweight division, and Ngannou is a hot topic as he took, like you just said, he took Fury to in deep water and was giving them the business in this aspect to where he comes up against Joshua, and then is not the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think boxing did get gimmicky for like a year, like
Okay.
probably like 2 years, but I think the real fighters started fighting each other like these past couple years. Like even though it wasn't good, the Errol Spence, you know, but yeah, and Crawford. But I think these fighters are actually starting to put their record on the line. I think they're fighting more for legacy. They know we want to see the actual fights, the good fights, and
I
but
think
they
it's yeah, it's
yeah,
definitely
go
one.
ahead.
Yeah, because it was like even one when you spoke about just like you said, Earl Spence and Crawford. Although it might have been a little later than what we wanted to, but it happened.
Yeah,
Unlike what happened with Pacquiao and Mayweather. But then now you look at you finna get Haney and Garcia, like you know what I'm saying. So those top fights are starting to happen a little earlier to where it's both fighters are in their primes and where you
mm,
can hopefully see a good fight. It also ultimately see more than one fight between them, which you get the 2s and the 3s and stuff like that. So definitely. Any last takes on boxing there on Slip?
Yeah, although I do agree with the gimmick aspect, I think boxing come. I think they're gonna come back tougher eventually, especially the heavyweights, right? Like, cause we all wait to see the heavyweights. Some of the other weight classes are already good; they already there. We
yeah,
just need. I think we need better heavyweights in the United States. I think we got a shortage of
yeah.
good heavyweights.
It's funny you say that. Luka Doncic, if he was in the NBA, is throwing them haymakers. You know what I'm saying? As he just committed another triple double, his 6th triple double, his 5th 30-point triple double. We just talked about it's a continually ongoing conversation in reference to the talent in the U.S. compared to the talent overseas. You see, everyone's waiting for Victor Wembanyama's brother to get to the league potentially. In which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing for the most part, but in respect to domestic players and everything like that, we got some pretty good ones, I think. Of course, some have been showing out lately. Last night, one just did it himself with a 20, the first NBA player to go 25 plus points, 25 plus rebounds, 5 plus assists, 5 plus steals, 3 plus what 5 plus blocks. And that's Anthony Davis, who is a homegrown player. He just happens to sport the purple and gold, as now the Los Angeles Lakers have put forth the efforts.
You and them Lakers.
what are we talking about? It's the Lakers. They're doing good things. Like, let's be honest. Like, it's not about the Lakers. It's just about the play. I was like, if it was the Rockets, I'd be speaking, saying the same thing. Or if it was about Denver, I would be speaking the same thing. It just so happened the Lakers have knocked out 2 contenders in the last couple of games, being Milwaukee, a 20-point drubbing, and then last night they got a dub over Minnesota, who the second team in the West. As we know, the West is pretty stacked for the most part. Currently, with 18 games remaining, the Lakers just sitting at number 9 in the conference. They are just 3 games out of the second 6 spot. So, I mean, that's looking good. But, of course, and speaking on that, you got to talk about OKC is running right now. They're doing their thing. Minnesota is still, even in the loss, they're still. You know what? You're a good man there, Mason. You're a good man, brother. So this past weekend, was there anything that y'all seen that stood out to y'all in basketball? If y'all checked it out, or what are you talking about? What do you feel like is in the news in the NBA?
I believe purple and gold. I don't know. Sometimes, man, NBA gets so fluky that I don't know what to think. I thought the Kings were a good team. They so inconsistent. I'm a Heat fan. I'm still hurt we didn't get Dame.
Y'all got Jaime. Jaime is lit. Jaime Jaquez.
Yeah, he's gonna be good. We got Terry, but I don't think Jimmy Butler's the answer.
Oh,
I never really liked Jimmy Butler to begin with. I didn't think he was. I mean, he's all NBA caliber guy, but I don't think that he was the right one to actually get the job done.
He's taking y'all to 2 finals.
Was it him?
Who else was it?
Was it him? Or was it the amazing 3-point shooting we decided to have last year on that run? Because there was a lot of games where I'm like, yo, where did I don't want to talk about it. I had money on that game too.
He dropped 50 on the Bucks. I mean, last year he dropped 50 on the Bucks. Like
that was
a game that, but that one game
that was the only series he showed up to.
That one game made a whole difference, right?
It did. But Max Strus, Duncan Robinson, Gabe Vincent.
Yeah, but
they were
out.
Martin. They were the difference last year.
They fizzled out with his time. Like when they got against Denver, that 3-point shot was nowhere to be found from any of those. Like when they got against Denver.
I think it happened in the finals. They weren't going to win that fun. They weren't going to win that series. No way. I'm just glad we had got there because we almost didn't make it out to play in.
Well, I was just gonna say like Miami, where they came from and how they. I think they can't do that without Jimmy Butler. I think you put any other superstar in that same position, like you put Dame, you put Dame in that position, y'all don't even make the 8th seed. Like y'all out in the play-in. Yeah, you seen what Dame did in Portland by himself. He don't lift a team. You look at some of these other superstars, you couldn't put them in Jimmy Butler's position.
So if you just swap Jimmy and Dame,
with that amount of talent,
if you just swap Jimmy and Dame, you don't think they get there? Keeping Tyler Hero and Bam.
No, they don't get there. Not at all.
They don't get where? The playoffs?
They don't get to the playoffs. They lose in the play-in. Like they done in the play-in. We seen it in Portland. We saw what happened. Dame can't carry a team by himself. Once McCollum and Nurkic and those guys were gone, that team is a lottery team. and Dame found a way. Here's the thing about some of the stars that I always look at. How is Dame? I'm not gonna say that you fake injuries. I'm just gonna say injuries seem to last a lot longer when you're losing than when you're winning. I mean, we see that at every sport. Like
Yeah.
Dame missed almost 60 games because Portland didn't have anything. Like if Portland would have had something, or he felt like they could win, they would make those moves. But Dame can't carry a team like Jimmy Butler can. We didn't even know Jimmy Butler could carry a team like that until he started doing it, right? Like until he started doing it, until he started bringing the heat to the party. Like Jimmy Butler bounced around a little bit before he found Miami exposure.
Yeah, but he was on better teams before he got to Miami.
But he taking less to the final. I mean, he was on a better team than Philly, right? Philly was supposed to be that team.
Eric
He was
Spoelstra.
on a better team. He was on a better team in Minnesota too. Minnesota was supposed to be pretty good, right?
Eric Spoelstra though.
I mean,
Spoelstra's a
but
good coach. I think
yeah,
I
it's
think
probably that.
Spoelstra.
Yeah,
I think Spoelstra like either the top or one of the top five coaches in the league right now. Top three coaches in the league right now.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think Spoelstra.
because I mean, all those reports of him, pretty much, the minute was it? Yeah, was it Minnesota or Philly?
who Jimmy and
Yeah,
well, both of them. It just depends on what situation you're talking about.
I'm talking about the where he took the third string pretty much and beat the starter.
Of
Minnesota,
Minnesota.
yeah,
So
like stuff like that, and then an interview, and
the
they're
men,
watching it when they're, you know
yeah.
what I'm saying, like it's stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, if you're that good, why weren't you doing it already over there with a better roster in a better situation?
Well, it's the team and what role they want you to play on that team, right? Like he's clearly a leader, and you want him to play behind. I mean, let's just face it. When he was in Minnesota, they wanted to showcase Carl Anthony Towns, right, and Wiggins, right, and then they
Yeah,
want you to come in and be a third, and he's better than both of those guys in my mind. You know what I mean? Like just off veteran experience. So I think that's the problem that you have. And same thing when he went to Philly, right? Like you
Hmm.
want him to play backseat to Tobias Harris. Come on, stop it. You know what I mean? Like you want me to play that? I mean, I get it. Embiid is the guy, but I'm not gonna, like I'm better than Tobias Harris, and they chose. I think Philly chose wrong. They chose to keep Harris over Butler, and they get what they get, right?
Okay.
and then now he's in Miami, and what I'm saying. So I mean, now if Dame had went to Miami with Jimmy buckets, now you probably got a problem because now Jimmy's off the ball. Now you can split the ball. You better shooting. And so yes, then you probably would have had a hellacious situation going on to where it might have even been better than him being in Milwaukee. But that's
Yeah, yeah. I think it'd be way different because I think for that one to happen, they were giving up Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson, and I think of who else they had on there. But essentially, it would have still been Bam
yeah.
there too.
Yeah.
And I think they should move Bam to the 4 and get an actual 5.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
Oh, that's a good part. A question by Anthony. He said, "So are we saying that Jimmy Butler is not a true number one on the team, and he needs somebody else to win?"
I mean, no, he's definitely a number 1. But in today's game, you need 2, 3 guys.
Is that what you might be right? Can we say that? Is it? Yeah, that's pretty. I think that's accurate.
you have to. It's not been too many. I mean, when we talk NBA, everybody say super teams and all of that other stuff, but name me besides the '90s Hakeem Olajuwon with no other All Stars. What teams really make it without two or three? What teams really win at all without two or three All Stars
Winning it all or actually getting there?
or winning it all? Like how many teams actually win it all without two or three? Because I can only remember Olajuwon who didn't have All Stars. Maybe Isaiah Thomas, maybe. But Joe Dumars was like an All Star, right? Like Joe Dumars was pretty. I'm just saying, most teams have two. Like when you go through the history of the NBA, most teams Most teams have too. Those Celtics that Bill Russell was a part of that won 11, they
Yeah.
had like all those dudes are like Hall of Fame. Cousy and all those dudes are Hall of Fame. I'm saying Magic and Kareem and all them like Worthy, like they had so many. I'm saying when you start talking Boston, Larry Bird, McHale, Ainge, I mean Robert Pat. When you go through it, you go to Bulls, the '90s Bulls. You had Michael and Scotty on the first one. You know what I'm saying on the first runs or whatever. But then on the second one, you had Michael, Scotty, and Dennis Rodman. I'm saying most of these, who does it by themselves? LeBron, he won with D Wade, Anthony Davis, and Kyrie. Think about that. Who's winning? Who's winning by themselves?
Nobody.
Who's winning?
Nobody.
Yeah.
You can get there. We don't seen LeBron get there with nobody, but not winning.
Right. We see Jimmy Butler getting there with basically nobody. Like you know what I'm saying? Like we see that, but they're not winning though. But who's winning? Like
Hmm.
I haven't seen a winner with nobody in a while, right? Like when Giannis won it, Chris Middleton. Nobody knew Chris Middleton was gonna raise his game to that level, right? Chris
Hmm.
Middleton. Drew
Well, I
Holiday
mean,
was a good piece. Drew
even
Holiday was a good piece.
even
Yeah.
Toronto. I mean,
Right.
everyone puts the emphasis on Lowry, but did Lowry really contribute that much in the in state? You know what I'm saying? That was or Siakam. I mean, I guess Siakam grew from that. You know, what I'm saying that from there, but it's like in state, like I mean, you're definitely not going to see anymore where it's a one particular person is going to be. It might be one person, but then he has some a supporting cast that is pretty. You know what I'm saying the supporting cast might be all right, just like Jordan, in my opinion. Even though you had Scotty and like you said, Robin, but they had a supporting cast that assisted in that as well,
Hmm.
which continues to perpetuate. But we're probably not going any longer see that situation to where one player is able to contribute to make it happen. The closest thing that you would have would probably be Victor, and we see, like you point out plenty of times, he's not doing anything in San Antonio by himself. So and
I
he's
think
not going to have enough.
in today's game, the players are just too good, and
Yeah,
they're only getting better. So
that's what I look at. You see
yeah,
all the shots like back in the days, these guys couldn't make. A lot of guys couldn't make that shot with their hands in their faces and stuff
they
like
couldn't even
that.
shoot
Like
threes back then.
right, like we say that the defense is falling off. But from this weekend, what I saw was the defense is pretty good, right? Like the defense is good for what you're allowed to do these days.
Yeah,
And you got like you see hands in KD's face when he's taking those shots. He's not shooting just wide open jumpers. Like like it's somebody guarding him and he's still able to do it. They guarding Jokic, right? Like you play a defense on Jokic, but he's still busting you. Like it's defense on Luca. He's
yeah,
still making the plays. So
yeah. These guys are getting
uh,
everybody's best.
yeah, I think that even the bench, even the players coming off the bench now, and all the role players, it's different. It's a different game than it was
Yeah.
before.
So
Skill level.
like with that, when like guys are talking shit, oh, bench player, blah blah blah, he ain't good. But when those bench players and those role players go to these open runs, they're dropping like 40, 50 on people. Like just the caliber of players is way different
Yeah,
now.
it's
It's just
just
way different
it's
now
just overshadowed by
by the
these.
stars.
Well, yeah, by the stars or anything like that. But hence, like you said, they're one of 450 players that's on the that were or are on the NBA roster. So I mean, that has to go for saying something. In state. What do y'all think about the sitting of the players? So of course, last night Kawhi, George, Russell Westbrook, Kawhi Leonard, and Paul George all sat last night, and they got ran through in LA, especially at this particular time when you got someone like the Lakers that are coming. You still got Golden State lurking. The King, or yeah, Anthony Price talked about the Kings, pretty good team as well. They got ran through by the Kings, of course. What do you think about the sitting of a player? I mean, of course, yes, if injured, get it, but are y'all with the resting? I know JP, you're a coach now. Snip, you've been a coach before. What do you think about resting players?
From the coach aspect, I understand for
Yeah, you
sure.
got games right now, so you're especially
Yeah, I'm damn near playing NBA season.
Uh-huh.
But I understand that point. But the NBA is solely entertainment. And you're getting paid all this money, you got a contract, you know what I'm saying? The league fixed it to where you have to play 65 games pretty much. You get penalized for the whole resting thing. But I mean, I'm not an NBA player, obviously, but 82 games, I mean, that is a lot of games. Back to backs, that is a lot of games. But it's one game. And they get the best facilities, they get the training, the recovery, they get all that. I think they should be playing. But I understand it.
Right.
I understand it, but I think they should be playing. They get the best training, they get the best coach, they get the best recovery plan, the meals, they get everything, right? They should be playing.
I think you can at least play 15, 20 minutes in a game. I mean, I'm just saying. Like,
Yeah, it should be
you know
like
what
a
I mean?
minute, a minutes thing.
Like,
Yeah,
even if
yeah,
I give you a restriction on minutes to get the rest in, I think you can still do it that way.
that's a good one.
But I think right now, you just sold on the fact that everybody is on a different schedule. Like the Clippers, they did this in the past. They overdid it, the whole load management thing, right? So now they just now doing it at the end of the season. I can see how that works, but I don't recommend sitting everybody at one time. But Westbrook is hurt though, right? Like he got a
Yeah, he
broken
was
hand,
hurt.
right?
Yeah, he's hurt. Yeah.
Westbrook is legitimately hurt. I don't Kawhi, but Kawhi should be the last person sitting out for anything. I'm sorry, like you know what I mean. I mean, I'm just saying you missed a lot of basketball already. Unless you're not fully, you should be 100% at some point.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess when you look at it now, they're probably never going to get 100%, or like what is actually considered 100%. They might become 100% of the player, which they are currently, but they're never going to be back to 100%. In which they need. And is it fair to say that Kawhi and Paul or both and George are both needed for them to even get a run, or even now? Like, are they safe? Do y'all think they're safe right now, sitting at what, number 4, number 5 in the West?
they're
I
safe.
already told you. I already told you. I think they gon' I think they can win it all. Um, and I think if Kawhi is healthy, you see they've only fallen short without Kawhi. Like they've had Paul George in the past, he can't get them over the hump by itself. Like when Kawhi has fallen off, but as long as Kawhi been there, they've been hard to beat.
I feel a certain type of way about that. But you know what? You know what I'm saying? Time would tell, time would tell, time.
Who do you think? Who do you think is going to reach Western Conference Finals?
Um, well, if they say four right now, I think some changes are gonna be made to 1 through 4. By the way, before it's over with, because without Carl Anthony Towns, I see Minnesota starting to struggle. They're gonna struggle a little bit, so they're gonna drop a little bit. But it depends on where they fall. If Denver makes it to the number one spot, then and the Clippers stay at 4, they gonna have to meet, what I'm saying, somewhere like in the second round. So one of them is gonna end up going home. But if they can stay separated, I see the Clippers and the Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals.
I think a Nuggets in the LA. I'm not sure which LA yet. But of
There
course
you
it's
go.
gonna
You
be
already
hard.
know you want to say the Lakers.
It's gonna be
Hey, the
hard.
Lakers they was Western Conference Finals last year, so
I mean, it's hard right now because, like you was just saying, if Denver gets back into the number one seed, the LA continues to stay where they are, they're going to be a 7th or an 8th. You know what I'm saying? So that means that's an early round matchup. And I don't, you know what I'm saying, we see last year's conference finals in the first round. Is that, you know what I'm saying, is that how that's going to play out? Um, I would like to sit up and throw like the youngsters in there. That's the Kings or the OKC or Minnesota. But like you just said, Minnesota struggling without Karl Anthony Towns. So they're going to be without him for another month. Rudy Gobert can't see to stay on the court with all his situations and being fined and all that type of stuff. Although, you know what, I couldn't think of the person. It was Naz Reid. In my opinion, I think last year Lakers would have lost if Naz Reid had played.
you think so?
Yeah. I just, for whatever reason, he seems to bring something different to a team. And I think, you know what I'm saying, you got to take in consideration last year they had Gobert, but they had the situation where he had gone into the altercation, so he was hurt. But Naz Reid would have the broken hand, so all that type of stuff. I think Naz Reid would have been a factor for Minnesota. We might have seen a different Minnesota team last year and might have knocked off LA early in the first round. But of course, it didn't come to fruition. All they had was Anthony Edwards, and he wasn't enough. So, but
You don't think he's enough this year? I don't think Minnesota's going to go to conference finals, though.
nah, probably not. I think it just comes to the inexperience in state. That's why I say SGA. I mean, OKC is not going to be it. Minnesota is not going to be it. Almost the same thing which we looked at Memphis last year and the year before. They was young and it wasn't ready, and the experience is going to win out. I think the top inexperienced team that was probably out there that is that might be able to string something along would be Sacramento or even Dallas, even though they're not necessary at that. Sacramento. I'll just say Sacramento. That's about it. Everyone else is going to run into some problems, a buzzsaw, and it's going to be problematic for them.
So you got Clips, Nuggets too?
Yeah. I hate to say it.
That purple and gold ain't gonna go that far this year.
Nah, they showed out something last night, and it's like these. And I was very upset because I was like, they done gave up a 20. They went on. Minnesota went on a 30-5 run last night. I was like, come on, what are we doing? I was like, when I cut on the game, LA was up. It was 70. Excuse me, it was 70-83. I blinked and it was damn 90. It was 83-80. I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, where is they? I was like, come on, you can't. And of course, Austin Reeves was messing up. Teron Prince, AD, even though he was cleaning up on the boards, he was getting knives, was punching everything he was putting up. Anthony Edwards was catching up from behind. I was like, and for every little thing that we do great is a little thing that we don't do so great. Turnovers. It was just it, but I mean, they were able to weather the storm.
What about the East?
I think it's Boston's to take.
Yeah, I think right now Boston is. After watching Boston, I got a new respect for Boston after seeing them play like the last 3 or 4 games or whatever I've seen them play as up close, and it's like good. You're not gonna shoot well every game, but I think it's gonna be hard to stop them when they on the roll like that. Like like they can run you out of the building real quick. Um, even when Jason Tatum hasn't been playing that well this past week or whatever, they can still blow you out at any time. And like I said, the only games I've seen them lose, it's been their own fault that they've lost those games. Turnovers late in the game or missing free throws, stuff like that. Like it's stuff that they can clean up, and they really put themselves way up there. Um, I still, you know me, I still think the Jimmy Butler led Heat, if they get in, they got a shot because for some reason they seem to break those teams' hearts over
I think, yeah, it's definitely Boston. Now, like you said, Milwaukee is going to continue to be there. Unfortunately, without Joel Embiid, Philadelphia has started to nosedive. And then, of course, if you like you say, looking at what history has presented in front of us, Miami has been consistent in that aspect of fighting from obscurity and coming back to slay the beast. So I would say if it had to come down to it, it would be, I think Boston is prime. But I definitely think that, or even the Cleveland team is sitting around, saying as well. But I think Boston's prime, of course, Milwaukee with the addition of Dame, saying, and Giannis, who can become hot at times with Portis and their supporting cast. Taking consideration they don't have Middleton currently, so if he comes back and gets back into the playoff mode, they can be problematic. And then, of course,
he's been on the decline though.
Middleton,
yeah,
money does that to you, evidently.
Yeah.
Like I don't think we've seen anyone who after getting a payday has been like a head and shoulders above everything.
Yeah.
Philly to trade away Embiid and rebuild. Nah.
I think that's a tough one. I think Philly don't need to get rid of Embiid. I think they need to get rid of some of the other pieces around him. And
Tobias.
bring in, well, yeah, like not just Tobias Harris, but it's like you got Buddy Hield now. Hill don't seem to be fitting in Philly. Um, I know they won yesterday, but they won 79-73. That was one of the most. I think that's the worst game I've seen in years. The worst NBA game in terms of shooting. I mean, in terms of shooting, I think that's the worst game I've seen in a long time. 79-73. Um, Hill not playing well right now. I know they missing Embiid. They was missing Maxey yesterday. But Harris still inconsistent as he's always been since his LA Clipper days. I mean, I'm just saying too many inconsistencies with Philly. And even with when they had Embiid was running through the league. But we've seen them do that in the regular season before. For me, it's always um, we always putting pressure on what Shaq and what's his name Charles Barkley them call the others when they come to Philly. The spotlight is never on Embiid in the playoffs, um, and that's what's crazy to me with Philly. I think that's been their downfall the last few years is that we want to blame the James Harden and the Ben Simmons uh, when Embiid don't necessarily show up in big games either. Like nobody ever looks at that though. It's like when it's all on the line, Embiid he always shrinks. Case in point, they needed a win last year. They needed a win, and we said it was James Harden. James Harden kept them in series, like kept them in the series, helped them win 2 games. So Embiid, I need you to come through and win a game. Where your game at? You know what I'm saying? Like where your game at, Embiid? I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like I'm watching Jason Tatum drop 40, 50 points. I'm watching Jimmy Butler drop 40, 50 to get a win here and there. Where's Embiid with that when they really need it? He's never done it.
It's going to be, and that's going to continue to be the thing. Like he's been a regular season player, of course, regular season accolades, but when it comes down to the playoffs, he hasn't been there. It's when it comes down to anyone in the East, for the most part, the playoffs, everyone tends to fizzle, and which has afforded the opportunity for the West to continue to be the dominant over the last couple of years. So we'll see. As this looks like, it's still going to be the same thing this year, another one. But of course, until it's played out on the lines, we don't really know. So moving on in our last bit of time, the NFL is starting to get lit. It's finally happened. The ball has dropped. Black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow. Russ, Danger Russ is in Pittsburgh. Is it going to work out? Why did he go to Las Vegas? I wonder why. But is it going to work? Look, he's got terrible towels out. Is it going to work? Do you think it'll work legitimately?
I think sure, I think it's a perfect fit for right now. Just for right now. 1 year. All right. Yeah, that's good. Draft a quarterback or see who's going to be a free agent next year. Actually find that quarterback if it is Russ for the next 2-3 years. All right, cool. But literally, we're a quarterback away from being competitive in the playoffs. Like just in our division, we're in the hardest division in football.
It turned out to be the hardest division.
Man, we all knew. We all know it is. We all know it is. We all know
the AFC North is tough. The AFC North is tough. I respect that. But my thing is, we talking about. I like the move because it's desperation for both of them, right? The coach and the quarterback. It's both legacies are on the line. Like we always talk, Tomlin having winning seasons, but when the last time they made the playoffs? It's been a few years since they made the playoffs, right?
No, we make the playoffs. We make the playoffs. This is the last time we won a playoff game.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, y'all did make the playoffs. My bad. So you was in the playoffs, but you know, it's a statement thing. But I think right now, for Russell Wilson, uh, he should be happy. He should be excited. You got two good receivers, two good running backs. The pressure gonna be off of you a little bit, and
Mm.
plus you should have a chip on your shoulder from how Denver just. Did you see how Denver just did you? 85 million in dead money. You know what I mean? They just said we'll eat that just to get rid
Just
of
to
you.
get
I
rid of
mean,
you.
you feel what I mean? So
And you know what I think is something that we're overlooking because you just talked about the wide receivers and the running back and stuff like that. A
Frymouth, a
deep,
good tight end too.
he got it.
Mm.
Yeah, Brian Booth is a good tight end, and but he has a defense now. Like think about what he did. I hate to say it, but what he did with the Legion of Boom. You know what I'm saying? Now, you know what I'm saying? Now he has someone to help him when he has to manage the game to be able to hold on if he's not clicking. I mean, now, but talking about the two receivers, do you think now this is going to be a situation where instead of because I thought Pittsburgh was shopping Deontay. Do you think it's a situation now where Deontay is going to stay, or you think they're going to continue to see if they can get a replacement?
One thing Pittsburgh does is that receiver core. They draft well, and they know when to get rid of you.
Yeah,
They get rid of them at the perfect timing. So if they get rid of Deontay, then it must be the right timing. But if they keep them, I've been a diehard my whole life, and that receiving core has always been great, and they've always known when to keep you if you're worth keeping, and when to get rid of you. I think the longest one receiver I've seen there was Hines Ward, stay there the whole time. Everybody else cycled through their 2-3 years or 4 maybe, or maybe just 1 year. But they know when to get rid of you. Would I like to keep Deontay and George Pickens and all that same core that they got? You know, those two guys with Freiermuth. I'd like to, and I think they're going to keep Deontay because I think they would have did something by now before the draft because they just released Allen Robinson.
And
He was their guy.
Patrick Peterson, right?
Yep. So, and I think really those were, I think, just the salary cap because those were pretty big contracts for those guys, and I think they're going to add another cornerback, and they're going to amp up that inside linebacker position, and they might get some more offensive line guys. But I think right now, with the receivers they got, those two, you just add one more piece, probably another vet like they did last year with him, and then I think they're good to go.
So, of course, another one that dropped, which is unexpected. I don't know. Y'all tell me I think is going to work out. Mac Jones going to now presumably be the backup for
Jacksonville, yeah.
For in Jacksonville.
Trevor Lawrence, yeah.
good move by the Jaguars. Good move.
Yeah, good move by the Jaguar.
You can't rely on Trevor Lawrence. He been hurt. Like like now you got a backup that'll probably play decent for you. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to back up with some experience.
Yeah.
Let's not forget, Mac Jones was pretty good his first season. It's not his fault that the quarterback coach slash offensive coordinator left, and then the next season you playing with a defensive coordinator as your offensive coordinator. I mean, it's not his fault that the organization struggled like that. I think his development was a little stalled because of that. But I think going there to Jacksonville is, I think his development will be a little bit better, and I think that if he had to be put in a pinch, he can win a game or two.
I think what really goes on is the situation is I'm looking at it, and I can understand and get what y'all both saying. So now Trevor Lawrence has heat on him. You know what I'm saying? This is no different than the same thing like you was talking about with Trey Lance and Dak, where it's like now you got someone back behind you that's going to push you because if you slip up, this could potentially be a starter. But additionally, what I think is now it throws a whole monkey wrench in the draft because now without a question, we know what's going to go down. Like everyone that probably thought we was going to be good, we're going to sit here. They can't do that now. Now it's going to force people to maybe be like, hey, to amp up the Andy's like, hey, we need to go ahead. We need to get ahead of New England if possible, or we need to trade with New England because now we don't know what they're looking at. Like Jaden Daniels or, saying any of that. What we know is Pittsburgh, but they were never really in danger of drafting somebody, in my opinion. But now we definitely know what probably New England's move is, unless they believe they have a top talent in a later round, in which I guess you could say it's kind of deep. This class is pretty deep to where you probably could get some good value in the second round for a franchise quarterback. Maybe, I don't know.
Do you think they're all going to be there still?
Yeah, I don't think there's no way. There's no way all those receivers, all those those quarterbacks are going in the first round.
I
There's
mean,
there's no need for it.
we saw last year as the year of the backup.
Yeah. Well, true that, but I think no one's going to waste, saying
The first
the
round.
first round on a quarterback to bring in someone to sit behind where you got other needs to be starting.
Yeah,
Because you look at, so I definitely think that there's, there's going to be, unless there, because I also looked at why Russ didn't go to Las Vegas, and maybe it's because Garoppolo is still there technically. So it's like, why sit up, why pay all this? I mean, even though Russ is 1.2 million is all he's making from the organization that he's playing with. That's golden. That could have been anyone's situation.
Beautiful.
So I wonder why he didn't end up in Vegas. Why they didn't? I think it's because because and it could have been also like we know they're at a state of flux. They don't know, they don't have a running back right now. But they still had that defense, and and then you got Devontae Adams. Pickens and Deontay Johnson compared to Adams and Myers. Like I would have went with I prefer the Raiders receiving core. Not to mention Mayer was an up and coming tight end. You got Crosby, an All Pro. So you got a deep there. No, you not feeling it.
No.
I know I'm super biased when it comes to
Pittsburgh,
but George Pickens is crazy. I'm not picking him over Devontae Adams, obviously, but the stuff he is capable of doing, and he's so young. Deontay Johnson is a great route runner too.
I would pick them both over Devontae Adams just because they're younger. Just because Devontae already told you what he's playing for. He's talking about some Hall of Fame. He's talking about everything except winning.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
Yeah,
he's talking about everything except winning, man.
That's true.
So,
that's true.
I can't buy into that. That's why the Raiders. I think the Raiders they got decisions to make. We know they're gonna probably pick a quarterback in the draft or something like that. But for the most part, what's the upside of going to Las Vegas? And plus, you're in the same division with you know who. Like,
and I thought about that too. Maybe he ain't go there. It's like I just left the division with this man.
I just left there. I'm not staying here. Yeah, if I'm him, no, get out of that. Get out of that division.
If Snead goes to Pittsburgh, boy, I'm gonna be acting like a Cowboys fan. you
can't go right. Like, didn't they franchise tag him already? Did the Chiefs put a franchise tag on Snead?
The last thing I heard from they did.
Yeah, I think he's franchise tag.
Oh,
is it him or who else was it? Because I think he is franchise tag because they signed John Jones.
Jones, yeah, that was the
signed
last
Chris
thing.
Jones, and I think Snead they franchise tagged him.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, damn. I would have.
But it's non-exclusive though, so he can still move, right? If it's non-exclusive, you can move, right? Like you can get an offer from another team, right?
He can be.
They have
first right to accept or deny.
Yeah, I would love that. I would also like. I know it's our arch rival. I'm supposed to hate every player from there, but Patrick Queen.
Oh.
If we could get a linebacker like him, I think we're talking about another Steelers defense that's going to be historic.
So,
well, I thought y'all were on to something good last season up until TJ Watt got hurt. And I was like, it's a whack.
Now remember, our defense was even scoring and winning games for us. Literally, our defense was the reason why. If our defense didn't score, I was on the edge of my seat watching these games. Because that offense was just terrible. The offense was terrible. And it's a damn shame it took that long to fire Canada.
So it stayed with
and to me, I think it was even crazier that you went Trubisky as long as you did, other than just going to Mason Rudolph right off the rip. Like, I'm just saying.
That's nuts. When they signed him, I was like, really? Like, we're just going backwards. They're just going backwards. And then Kenny Pickett, I never liked that draft, but Pittsburgh is just too loyal to their own.
So in state, which I understand, I don't understand it. If I was Mason, I'd be like, I'm out. Y'all ain't gonna continue to play in my face. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Even though I get it, like the Russell Wilson thing was hard for anyone to pass up that
Yeah.
didn't have like a solidified first starter.
Yeah.
But
No, he's gone. I think they already said there was teams already hitting him up, for he already showed that he could play somewhere. Did Baker Mayfield still doesn't have a contract, right?
no, he got
Yeah, he
one.
did.
He got one?
He
100
got
million.
one yesterday, I think, right?
Yesterday?
100
3
million.
years, 100 million. 33 a year. So Baker is a good.
Half of that is guaranteed. Half of
Yeah.
that is guaranteed.
He's who? Who'd you say?
Half of it's guaranteed.
Oh, half of the
Half of the
guarantee.
money.
Yeah. So he's good. He's locked in. Of course, like we talked about, what do you think about Judy going to Cleveland? Again, your division.
Man, it's the toughest division, man. It's the toughest division.
I think it's a good. I thought it was a good move because I was like, now you got somebody on the other side of Amari Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
I just think I don't understand what Denver's doing. Like Denver cleaning house for some reason. I don't.
Yeah. He finna bring in.
Are
He
they going to
finna
be
bring in the whole
competitive
squad.
next year?
He finna bring in the whole squad. We about to see the AFC East New Orleans Saints. You know what I thought long and hard about is, he just said Pittman was just signed, so he must be a coach. He must be remaining a coach since they franchise tagged him.
Oh,
I thought long and hard about this. You know who I like to have in the fray in San Francisco?
Who?
But it's not going to happen because he has to be traded. I don't think we're going to give up for Taysom Hill. I like to have Taysom Hill.
Oh, I'm sick of that guy.
You're gonna have two Christian McCaffreys back there. Y'all ain't gonna ever throw the ball, really.
Yeah.
Y'all gonna look like Army and those schools.
Yeah, like look at with Debo, you running the ball with Debo and McCaffrey, and how many reverses
Yeah, how many jet
RPOs
sweeps
can
and
you?
we're gonna see the shovel pass now more.
I just thought I could imagine him in a Kyle Shanahan offense. Like Taysom Hill would probably be a cool if he was a free agent, not to be traded. Like I don't foresee that.
Now, speaking of trades, what would you think if? Now, I don't think it would have happened at all, but they kept talking about it. Justin Fields to Pittsburgh.
I still think I think that's a win also because he's younger and he ain't never had that much talent on both sides of the ball that he would have at Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
I think he would just have to work on his fundamentals. Yeah.
I think Justin. I think it would be similar, like he was just saying, similar to that of if he was in Atlanta, which we don't know if that's going to be the case. We don't know. You know, what I'm saying we still. It's like no one. Chicago isn't really showing their cards on what it is. We just seen they signed signed Johnson for from what you was just talking about defensively. So it's still I'm at this point I'm not sure what Chicago is going to be doing or what they're going. Of course, it continues to lead towards Caleb Williams. Of course, now even more so, you would think now if they were on the fence about it, they're looking at it now because with New England basically being there, you can't let it sit around. You can't do something like not draft Caleb and then turn around and think and hope that he would have been there later because teams didn't really need a quarterback. You know what I'm saying? So now teams need quarterbacks. So is even Caleb. If you're not getting Caleb, then we know if Caleb doesn't get drafted, then we know Justin is being in Chicago and they're probably going with a top tier wide receiver or something like that, i.e. Harrison or something like that. So I mean, it remains to be seen. We just it's crazy, but I think Justin. You know what? I think Justin ends up staying in Chicago.
I think he does too, and I think that would be smart because Well, he's been in what 4 years now? Like,
Yeah, because he's on his. They got to pick up the 5th year on him.
yeah. Who do you think is the best in Jaden?
I mean, I said the same thing. I didn't think Caleb Williams was the best quarterback in the draft. I think it's a couple. I think there's a couple quarterbacks better than him. One is once you mentioned Jaden Daniels. I think he's better than Caleb. And I think I'm just saying going to the NFL. And I think Drake May is better. I think Drake May gonna be a better quarterback in the NFL than a lot of people think.
Who was the last North Carolina quarterback that went to the NFL? Yeah, Trubisky.
Well, I'm not even looking. Well, we can say the same thing about a lot of the Ohio State quarterbacks, right? But CJ Stroud just showed you something different. So that's I'm looking at that. I think Drake May in his own lane.
Okay. No, I think he is good too. I think he's good too. I, all the hype with Caleb Williams and stuff like that. I think that really is what wheeled him to number one. But I mean, you got guys that been seeing him in person, and oh, he's special, this, that, and the other. But I think Jaden Daniels, number one, like as far as the better quarterback. And I can see Drake May. I see what you're saying, but I'm always skeptical with North Carolina and uh, Ohio State. But I think they are either going to trade away and get some pieces for Justin Fields, or they might shock everybody and like draft not Caleb Williams, but like another like Marvin Harrison or something like that.
And I hate to say it, but I think the same thing. Not to hate on Caleb Williams, but I think the same thing. Like he not saying that he's not the most he's not the best quarterback in this draft class, but I don't know if he's that number one or even to go there. So it's like in state is, are we saying that Caleb Williams is a better quarterback than Justin Fields? Because presumably he's going to go there with the same problems in which Justin Fields has had. So are you saying he's going to do better than what Justin Fields has done with the same talent?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it's big. It's got to be bigger than that. So it's like why even? So that's why I look at it as like why would we even play that? We have Justin Fields. We can basically use him for one more year. We don't have to sign him. And what he going to do? Sit out? You going to sit out? Like. No, I don't see that. He can play. He has this 5th year where he can. It's a make it or break it year, and go from there and put pieces around him already. Because if not, you're going to waste a draft pick on Caleb Williams, hoping he can do better than what Justin Fields did with a one less, saying top prospect in what you're going to put it. So I really think that Justin Fields, unless they got a lot. I mean, they have a 1 and a 9. So
yeah, if they. Essentially, they're like resetting the clock. If they draft Caleb Williams, get rid of Justin Fields, to me, what that's telling me is, okay, we don't want to pay him, and we're going to go ahead and pay other guys and bring other guys in around Caleb Williams and try our luck with that again for the next 3 years. If they don't get a receiver, O-line, and some more defensive pieces, they're in the same boat.
I mean, and then even at 9, I don't know where they would draft at 9, but it's still, even if it was receivers, there's some. I think the receiver class is deep as well. So
Keon Coleman too, or
yeah.
Dion, Dion.
Yeah. So the receiving, you got neighbors. It's the receiving.
Yeah.
Like the receiving is just as deep as the quarterback score, so to speak. So
yeah,
I mean, it's saying they're out there. So it's they have some choices. So I wonder, or they could, like you said, they could go ahead and sell it to somebody else, i.e. New England might be a key candidate. Like what y'all got? You know what I'm saying? If you won't, especially if if I was looking at, hey, we're keeping Justin, I'm fire selling. I'm finna sit up and remember in draft day how my man did the GM and got all his picks back and got more. I'm hitting up New England like that. Like, yo, yeah, I'm like, yo, this is what we're trying to do. It's like I was already looking at picking up not drafting Williams anyway. So let me see y'all. If y'all want to move up, let me get y'all. What is New England number 4 or something like that? What's New England's draft pick?
I think they number 3.
Yeah. Let me get you a 3. I already got a 9. And what else can we get? So you can get this. So if you want Caleb, you can have him because I ain't want him anyway. You know what I'm saying? So it go from there. Like I would sit up in like that's hopefully Paulus is going to put in the work. And you know what I'm saying? Because in state, maybe Caleb wasn't their person which they was going after. It just doesn't seem right. It doesn't fit right in my opinion. Like you might have a couple of teams out there that has other things. They just had a bad year.
Mm-hmm.
So you know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know what I'm saying, let's play, you know what I'm saying? Because there's enough talent. Because in state, when you look at it, the draft class, Trevor Lawrence's draft class, he's the only person that's starting now. Like, yeah, he got the last quarterback drafted in the draft class that backs him up now. Like it's basically Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold all over again.
Yeah.
But it's just in Jacksonville. So you have that. Trey Lance is a backup. Zach Taylor is a backup. He might be. He probably about to be on someone's couch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Like Wilson gonna be at home.
Yeah,
He gonna be at home soon.
He's gonna probably be at home. So it's like in this, you know, and that's basically where he at. I think I'm missing one more person in that draft class. Trevor Lawrence.
Mac Jones. Mac Jones.
Person.
Was it Mac Jones in that class?
Yeah, he was. He was drafted. He was the last year. So the other one was Justin Fields, but he's still a starter currently. So we know he's going to continue to start. It's inevitable. He's going to start regardless of the situation. Trevor Lawrence is currently the starter. Mac Jones went from a starter to a backup, but he's backing up Trevor Lawrence now. Trey Lance is backing up Dak Prescott, and Taylor, you know, telling where he's going to be.
Yeah, home.
You know what kills me is the Jets still haven't cut him yet. Like you allowed to cut people, and he's still on your roster. I don't understand. You know he's not gonna be there, or he's not gonna be the man or whatever. So why keep him on your roster where you gonna have that potential of the same thing you just had this past season next season?
Mm-hmm.
So Anthony, you don't think Howard it could get it done under a different regime now? I mean, he was serviceable last year, even though y'all lost some hard ones in game, but y'all won some hard ones as well. He said trade up. So yeah, so I mean, it will be seen. So still a lot we know this today till Wednesday is the tampering, to where we'll see up and hear about the signings and who's getting signed and what. We still got Kirk Cousins out there. Does he end up moving on? And does Minnesota try their hand at somebody else? Saquon Barkley is still out there, rated the 5th ranked free agent.
Hey Dallas, let's get Saquon. I would love that. I heard he interested in Dallas. So it's like, hey, why he interested? Let's look at Saquon.
Calvin Ridley, he's a free agent.
Oh yeah. Oh man. I'm surprised they let him go.
He looked good in red and gold.
There you go.
I'm just saying, Brandon, are you going to
move on? Everybody.
Go ahead, Brandon. Go ahead. You know who else I take? I take Chauncey. I would take Chauncey Gardner, CJ Johnson.
Gardner Johnson.
Yeah, I take him. They said Bobby Wagner, free agent. So yeah, I take Gardner, CJ Johnson, Kendall Fuller, Marquise Brown, Stephon Gilmore. I think I would even kick the tires on Stephon too.
But I was surprised we weren't looking at re-signing.
Yeah, who?
I'm surprised Dallas wasn't looking at re-signing Stephon.
Yeah, he really helped.
Patrick Queen, of course, like we talked about. What's interesting, Derrick Henry at the number 21. Gabe Davis, I don't even know how he's even in the conversation. Like, I don't think Gabe Davis was that good. Chase Young, we can release him.
I think Gabe did well playing off of what's his name, the Stephon Diggs. I think.
Yeah, he did a lot of the stuff that doesn't go on the stat sheet for them. But when called upon, he did answer. But his numbers were terrible compared to like what he actually does. But he did a lot of the unsung stuff for that team. I noticed.
I'll also be willing to trade to switch up and move Darnold for Jacoby Brissett.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, Armstrong, he didn't want to take the money. He ain't want to sit up and deal. I feel Lynch. If you don't want to be here, hey, let me go ahead and get rid of you so we can go bring something else that's in.
You know, we talked about this Friday, I think, or a little bit. We touched on it a little bit Friday. But look at right now. The teams that's winning, they cutting. They not paying a bunch. You know,
Yeah.
the Chiefs, they only paying select people, right? They paid Mahomes and they paid Chris Jones. Like who else is getting money in Kansas City? I'm just saying overall, like they traded Tyreek, said, hey, you out. I mean, I'm saying like so they wouldn't have to pay him. Like Miami, you got a choice to make if you want to pay him. I mean, I'm saying we saw it with Pittsburgh historically. Like he said, like they always let people walk, they let people go. You don't pay a lot of players. New England historically, like they built a dynasty, a 20 something year dynasty by not signing all these people, by not signing the big names, right?
And
Like you
Tom
saw
Brady
a
was
lot of
taking
them
big
walk.
cuts.
Yeah, and Brady would take a pay cut just to keep a Wes Welker or somebody, right? Or a Gronkowski or somebody. So, um, yeah, the teams that it seems like to me the teams that's always throwing all the money away are the teams that's not winning. Like they playoff teams, but they're not winning. It's sort of like the Yankees of baseball, right? In baseball, they pay all the money like every year, but they don't, like
Yeah,
something
no
goes wrong
Geno.
here or there, and they're not winning. They haven't won a World Series in a decade.
As Anthony Price give us a lowdown and Brandon Hunt, Allen to San Francisco, Christian Wilkes to Cleveland. Oh, that's just going to bolster their defense. Swift to run to his latest switch. He's going to the Bears.
Ooh. Hey, do you think Miles Garrett should have won Defensive Player of the Year?
Hell no, I ain't get it.
Should have been TJ.
I second that emotion. See, that's why, and that's another reason why they was willing to let go. I'm sure the only reason San Francisco let go of Armstead is because they had a bird in the bush. They already knew, like, hey, we got a backup. We have something else that we're looking at. If you don't want to sit up and once he restarted playing that role where he wasn't trying to come off, he wasn't trying to sign or take a reduction to make it so where we could bolster the team. It's like, okay, no, it's not a problem, and we're gonna go ahead and release you, eat some of this money, and go from there and bring in somebody. So always and everything. So of course we greatly appreciate, saying, having JP on this morning, good conversation and
That's
talk.
it.
Of course, we'll be looking to see where y'all end up, saying, just a little over a month, just a little under a month away. When it comes down to the tournament, I'll be there. I don't know if Snook gonna come down. It'd be in San Antonio during that time frame. So I'll basically be there. Saying Bishop would be there as well, checking in on y'all and continue to look and see where y'all gonna be at in the standings. When the next one drops, of course, I'm very sure we'll hear something from Timo. They come snow. So saying all more to be said. Before we get out here, y'all gentlemen have any last words?
Everybody have a good Monday.
It's
It's
Monday.
it's NCAA mid championship week, right? So um, let's see who wins these conferences, and let's see who actually make the seat. What the 65 teams? I think it is.
Yeah,
I think
something
it's
like
like
that.
65.
Yeah. Only thing I got is hopefully that email come in here soon or that official invite. Because I mean, like, shoot, some of the guys said we're a top team. We do compete. Just had really, I really think we just had a bad showing at DC Classic. That's really it. We've been a top team throughout. Had two losses in the beginning of the year. That was just a bad weekend, but we made up for that. I mean, we just had a bad day that day. It happens.
So most likely, definitely, probably like he said, Mike said he's going to take a look at it. He should be seeing or a little time, but it should be coming out. So until then, we greatly appreciate you tapping in this morning. Look for us again, like he said, on it's Friday. We should try to get again Anthony Bartley on from the Cedar Park. Is it? So
No, the Cedar Rapids River
Cedar
Cats.
Rapids, yes, River Kings, and hopefully we get them on out of AFI so he can come talk and give us some information in reference to them. As I know their season starts this weekend or next weekend, so more conversation. Of course, will be more conversation that as we see, like you said, Swift leaves the Eagles to go play in Chicago, 3 years, $24 million a
Yeah,
year.
Justin Fields staying. Yeah, Justin Fields staying.
Oh yeah. See,
Yeah, he's
this,
staying.
saying it's right on the wall. So they finna do work, in my opinion. We're gonna see with them do some work and see what New England's probably gonna be end up drafting number 1 overall. So definitely be on checking that out as we get ready upcoming season. We'll tap in and see y'all later. Peace. Enjoy y'all Monday.